Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. In today's video, we're discussing why men stopped growing mustaches and how you can wear one with confidence. Mustaches were the cornerstone of facial hairstyles during the Golden Age of Menswear. Even though beards, sideburns, and other facial hair variations weren't widely adopted, mustache styles were fairly commonplace and were very popular with celebrities. And while some mustaches are popular today, we're not seeing old-fashioned mustaches like pencil, walrus, and handlebar. Unless you're a frequent visitor of hipster coffee shops, that is. All this, then, is why we mustache you, why these fell out of favor. Before we discuss how mustaches rose to and fell out of prominence, we must discuss what a mustache even is. It consists of facial hair that grows from around the upper lip. It could be worn otherwise clean-shaven or with other facial hair. From stubble to voluptuous handlebars, there have been many different popular styles of mustaches, with a history as colorful as the men who wore them. According to some, the word mustache comes from the French word moustache, which in turn comes from the Italian word mostaccio, which means musty or having a bad smell, though this isn't the case anymore with modern grooming techniques. Another theory is that it derived from the Greek word mustax, meaning jaw, which is much more pleasant. The mustache has been around for eons, but it came into prominence during the Middle Ages in Western Europe. Knights and noblemen often showcase their grooming techniques through their mustaches. Edward, Prince of Wales, even had his effigy prominently feature his mustache through his chainmail. The style further became associated with the upper class when King Charles I's portrait went on display featuring a prominent mustache. Mustaches and sideburns became even more popular during the late 17th century, when Tsar Peter the Great enforced the beard tax, and noblemen in Russia still wanted to showcase that they had time to spend on their grooming, without the higher tax burden. And the rest of Europe followed this beardless trend until it became the norm. The 1800s is when the mustache peaked, literally and figuratively, being styled to extreme proportions with equally impressive sideburns. But by the 19th century, newspapers claimed that there was a correlation between germs and facial hair, and thus a clean-shaven look became increasingly popular. Mustaches lost even more prominence going into World War I, as the US military required a clean-shaven face to wear a gas mask. When soldiers returned from the war, the clean-shaved look became the norm, especially in North America. But mustaches were sometimes emblematic of European gentlemen. Think of the caricature of the Latin lover in old films. This also coincided with improved shaving methods like the double-edged razor, which made a cleanly shaven look even more convenient than ever. Neatly trimmed handlebars and pencil mustaches were a popular alternative from the 1920s through the 50s, with Hollywood actors like William Powell and David Niven being defined by their mustachioed looks. Though youth culture eventually frowned upon the distinguished, well-maintained facial hair look, opting instead for the more shaggy sideburns of Elvis and Brando. The mustache saw its last major push in mainstream from the late 1960s to the mid-80s. With the counterculture in full swing, big and bold hair was in fashion, and popular with men like Michael Jordan, Tom Selleck, Freddie Mercury, Eddie Murphy, Lionel Richie, and Sam Elliott. However, mustaches have remained relatively unseen since the 90s, raising the question as to why. We've identified 6 reasons why mustaches fell out of favor. 1. Declining popularity of facial hair in general. The popularity of facial hair comes in waves, with the clean-shaved look becoming the norm for a half-century now, often considered the more clean-cut and professional option, making mustaches more common in countercultures instead. While facial hair has made a comeback, mustaches haven't necessarily, which means that we have to consider other factors, such as the fact that shaving became easier during the 20th century. A clean-shaven image was pushed by large ad companies, creating a whole new industry of cheap blades and expensive cartridges, where men have to endlessly buy shaving products in order to maintain a clean-shaven appearance. I think we're on to a shaving industry conspiracy. Let us know what you think.
This name keeps coming up over and over again. Every day, Pepe's mail's getting sent back to me. Pepe Sylvia, Pepe Sylvia. I look in the mail, well, this whole box is Pepe Sylvia!
2. There was simply a trend that fizzled. Mustaches used to be seen as somewhat of a status symbol, partly because they showed that a man could afford to regularly groom himself. In past centuries, only the wealthy could shave in front of a mirror at all times. Plus, it's a lot more time-consuming when using a straight razor, for obvious reasons. Now that everyone can own a mirror, it's no longer a flex to have a well-groomed mustache. From a socioeconomic standpoint, at least. The last time mustaches were massively popular was in the 1960s and the 1970s, when hippies, beatniks, and beach bums rocked the stache. These looks were hyper trendy and look extremely dated and uncool to a lot of people today. These mustaches can come across as more of a fad than an actual self-expression. Number 3, negative cultural associations. These historical stereotypes can also be a downside. Somebody can think that you look like a stuffy 19th century nobleman, or an artist like Salvador Dali. The film industry has been using mustaches to define characters for almost a century now. Charlie Chaplin used a mustache to help create the tramp persona that he's best known for. And mustaches are often used to depict devious characters. There's a reason why villains twirl their mustaches. Unfortunately, mustaches have been used by some of history's most brutal dictators, with Hitler and Stalin being the most infamous, possibly because they desired to convey a more masculine or authoritative image. After all, mustaches are associated with father figures. On the lighter note, many rock stars and celebrities are recognized by their mustaches, so somebody might accuse you of looking like Freddie Mercury or Tom Selleck. Mustaches in a contemporary setting are sometimes associated with creepy men, and can scare men away from trying a mustache. Finally, mustaches are also a style of facial hair often associated with homosexuals, as bold mustaches were often around gay bars and nightclubs during the 1960s and 70s and even today. As we said many times before though, classic style is for everyone, and none of these associations should scare you away from trying a mustache. With the exception of a toothbrush style, that is. Pretty much only Charlie Chaplin's tramp can wear that now. 4. Mustaches can be a bold style. Facial hairstyles like stubble and light beards are not as prominently featured on the face. However, even a tame and well-groomed mustache is very noticeable. This makes a mustache more of a character style of facial hair, and not a great choice for someone who likes to blend in with the crowd, even if they've been hiding under our noses this whole time. It requires confidence in order to handle the attention that a mustache might bring. However, finding the right mustache will make you naturally confident. 5. Difficult maintenance. Like all facial hair, mustaches can be difficult to maintain and keep neat, and often require special grooming tools. We at the Gentleman's Gazette have several videos on how to maintain your facial hair. A mustache can interfere with activities like eating and drinking, and some romantic partners might not be the biggest fans of the scratchy feeling. Plus, many men who want to try facial hair often opt to grow a full beard. But with the right care and know-how, you'll be able to maintain a beautiful mustache. 6. Styling confusion. Mustaches can be styled in a variety of different styles, just like other hair. However, many people believe that mustaches only exist in 2 ways: the dandified thin look or the extra manly thick look. These are the 2 most extreme mustache styles, but most mustaches are somewhere in the middle. So if you are unfamiliar on how to style a mustache, that brings us to our next section: making mustaches work with classic style. It is important to note that you could wear your facial hair however you want. Vintage styles were popular ones, and they might fit in with your own personal style. But our suggestions are for a mustache in the middle of the road, to be as timeless as possible. A neat and trim appearance is going to be the most timeless style. With a more refined aesthetic, you could try a pencil or handlebar mustache. Eric Jensen, owner of Sartoria Gallo, is a good example. Keep everything closely shaved, not overgrown or structured, and then you'll have an inoffensive take on the mustache. Plus, pairing it with the goatee or stubble will help it blend into your face, without being the center of attention. The more you grow out and curl your mustache, the more attention you will get. If you have more of a rugged style, you could try something like the walrus or the comb mustache. They will have a little more volume to them, but they are considered very masculine. The more you grow the mustache past the lips, the more bold and divisive it will be. So finding balance is key. In conclusion, as mustaches have risen and fallen in the past centuries, few styles of facial hair have so much character to them, and mustaches are a great way to stand out from the crowd. Share in the comments if you wear a mustache and how you style yours. In today's video, I'm wearing a safari jacket by Marling & Evans. My crew neck sweater is from a brand called Rudimentary. On the bottom, I'm wearing a pair of Mott & Bow dark wash denim. And for my feet, I'm wearing a pair of Ted Baker boots. For fragrance, I am wearing Oxford from the Roberto Ugolini collection. You can find all of the Roberto Ugolini fragrances as well as other accessories on our website.